Hey guys, today I'm going to be talking about care for your cacti and succulents. Hey guys, it's Emily, and this week I'll be talking about care for cacti and succulents. So a common misconception about these guys is that they're low light plants. They are not. Most of them are native to deserts or semi-desert areas, so they love sunlight. There is no such thing as too much sun for any succulent or cactus pretty much. So when you take one home from a greenhouse, what you should be doing is putting it in like an east or west facing window, and then you can transfer it after a couple weeks to a south facing window where you're going to give it lots of unobstructed light all day long. They can also do well in west facing windows if that's unobstructed as well and has really strong evening light. So for these guys, one of the trickiest things to figure out is your watering schedule. You want to be watering them when they're visibly limp or wrinkled, or if you actually feel the leaves, you can feel your earlobe, and if it's the same kind of malleable, soft texture, that's a really good indication that you should water it. These succulents are a variety called Echeveria, so anything that looks like a flower typically belongs to that family. And with these guys in particular, it's easiest to water them from the bottom, or just being really, really careful when you water them from the top. So with this guy, for example, you can barely see the soil. They really, really fill up the container that they're in, and they have all those tightly packed leaves. So if you water it from the top, it's just going to stay on there. It's not even really going to get to your soil. And what's going to happen is you're just going to end up rotting the leaves. So what you can do is when it is time to water it, you can just set it in a little dish of water and let it soak up everything that it needs. And then you can just put it back in your south-facing window, allow it to dry out quickly. We don't really recommend any sort of time frame for watering. I don't want to tell you to water it once a week or every 2 weeks or once a month, because environment is really, really different between houses. And it also depends on where you have them. If you have it in a west facing or a south facing window, what kind of pot it's in, what kind of soil you have it in. Typically you just want to follow those visual cues. So if it's wrinkling for cacti, they can even go a little bit like limp or be drooping. That's when you want to water it, not just once a week, because that could be too much or too little for it. For repotting it, you typically don't need to. The only time that I repot things are if, say, for example, my cactus is getting way too big and it's actually falling over out of its pot and damaging itself. Then you can repot it for stability. But in terms of the roots getting too root bound, that's not really an issue for them. You don't ever really need to repot them for that sort of thing, just more so for stability. And then the last thing I want to touch on is fertilizing. These are typically more slow growing, so you don't need to fertilize it every week or even twice a month. It can usually be kept to once a month in the growing season, so from March until September. And the last thing I just want to mention are these guys here. So string of pearls and string of hearts. I consider them to be succulent-like in terms of care. So that's one plant where you can give them both full sun and low watering. Okay, so that's everything I have for you guys for this video. See you guys in the next one.